Hello, sorry everyone for the technical glitch, and our boys are trying to sort it out. Meanwhile, a very good afternoon, and I'm Asunta Carolina Antonisamy, your moderator for today's IKIADS webinar. A very good afternoon or morning to some of you, and a warm welcome I bid to Dr. Farida binti Yaakob, the Director of the Institute of Teacher Education Malaysia, Ilmu Khas Campus, Dr. Aliza binti Adnan, the Head of the Department of Corporate Networking and Communication, representing the Deputy Director of the Institute of Teacher Education Malaysia, Ilmu Khas Campus, Mr. Praveen Dharan Balakrishnan, educator and doctoral student at King's College London, Ms. Malini Devi Parameswaran, educator and doctoral student, University Malaya, Kuala Lumpur, Mr. Muhammad Al Lamare bin Abu Hussein, lecturer, Institute of Teacher Education Campus, Ilmu Khas Campus, Kuala Lumpur. Heads of department, heads of units, lecturers and students of the Institute of Teacher Education Malaysia, Ilmu Khas Campus, and all our viewers in Malaysia and those from abroad who are watching the third edition of the Ilmu Khas International Academic Discourse Series, or well known as IKIADS, for this year 2025. Welcome, everyone. Today, we embark on the Doctoral Odyssey, navigating the start and sustaining the journey, charting the course from the very first brave step to keeping the momentum all the way to the finish line. Ladies and gentlemen, we have three interesting presentations lined up for you today. Before we initiate this event, I would like to call upon the Director of the Institute of Teacher Education, Ilmu Khas Campus, Dr. Farida binti Yaakob, to deliver her opening remarks and officiate the webinar.
The intent to further your studies. Welcome to today's online webinar, the Doctoral Odyssey, Navigating the Start and Sustaining the Journey. It is my great pleasure to open this event where we gather not only as academics, researchers or educators, but also as fellow travelers on a long and often winding road, the postgraduate and PhD journey. The term Odyssey is not exaggeration. Like Homer's legendary tale, the doctoral journey is filled with unknown tests of perseverance, moments of self-doubt, and if navigated with courage and clarity, a destination that transforms not just what we know, but who we are. Today's theme brings together two crucial points on this path, the beginning and the long haul. As we'll hear from our presenters, starting a postgraduate or PhD is more than just enrolling. It's about setting a mindset, building a routine, and daring to begin even when the terrain ahead looks uncertain. Malini's journey, aptly titled Doing from Scratch, No Shortcuts, reminds us that there is no substitute for the hard work of reading deeply, writing continuously, and refining relentlessly. Her practical wisdom will encourage us to prepare journals, track sources, build tables of ideas, and most importantly, just write, even when it's messy. She echoes the reality that there are no shortcuts in academic growth, only small, disciplined steps taken daily. Her emphasis on structure, on routine, and self motivation will speak directly to the demands of the doctoral process, where clarity of purpose and consistency, effort are essential. It is a timely reminder that the foundation of every meaning thesis is built quietly, steadily, and often alone long before the ultimate outcomes. From another lens, Al-Lamare's presentation titled A Journey on Hold will reveal a different but equally important truth. Not all PhD journeys begin at the same pace or from the same starting line. Life happens, jobs, families, uncertain about career rewards and institutional challenges, and some sit with a dream or on hold, seated but not rested, as aptly praised by the presenter. The key is not in rushing to start, but in knowing why we begin. And yet, as we discussed today, the question remains, is it worth it? The answer, while personal, is not only we face alone. It is question best explored in spaces like this, where collective reflection meets individual aspiration. And in our final presentation, Pravindaran Balakrishnan will bring us face to face with PhD Unmasked, myth, realities, and hidden truths. His reflections remind us that a PhD is not a guarantee of career advancement or a badge of ego, but rather a tool to build the life we envision. Through his journey from teaching to studying at King College London, we see that success in a PhD lies not only in scholar output, but in growth, contribution, and impact we see to make. He challenges us to ask, what life do I want to build? Reminding us that the value of PhD is not in the title, but in what we do with it. We also acknowledge the emotional and psychological way of this endeavor, as will highlighted by our speakers: mental health, the need for academic support, flexibility in program design, and community networks are no longer optional. They are vital. That is why spaces like today's webinar really matters. This event is not just about sharing research techniques or motivational stories, but it is about anchoring ourselves in the reality of this journey, supporting each other with honesty, and reigniting the sense of purpose, and we lead each of us to begin in the first place. Let us today be a space for reflection, a spark of inspiration, and a compass to guide us forward. Whether you are at the threshold of your PhD journey, midway through the labyrinth, or facing the fog of fatigue, we hope you leave today feeling heard, encouraged, and empowered. With that, let us set sail on this Odyssey together. Thank you and enjoy the session.
In Thank you, Dr. Farida. Indeed, as you said, the Doctoral Odyssey is about more than research. It's about finding purpose, staying the course, and growing through every twist and turn of the academic path. Right. Now, ladies and gentlemen, first let me apologize for all the technical glitches that we are facing. The line is pretty bad today at our place, so I hope the rest of the session will go on smoothly. Now, we come to our first presenter. The first presenter is Muhammad El Lamare Abu Hussein, my colleague and a lecturer from our Institute of Teacher Education Ilmu Khas campus today. Al, as he is fondly known, embodies the voice of the many, those standing at the threshold of their PhD journey and those navigating its winding path, sometimes stalled, sometimes on the verge of giving up, yet still holding on. His presentation, A Journey on Hold, Seated but Not Rested, captures the quiet struggle of doctoral scholars whose progress may have paused, yet whose minds remain restless, grappling with the unfinished questions and unfulfilled goals. So, Al, over to you.
All right. Okay. Thank you, Asunta, for giving me the stage now. It is a very good opportunity, and it's a very, how should I say, good chance to get it out there, right? What is it all about? Right. So my part or the role that I have been given is to actually to explore the reasons, the roles of what it takes to become a PhD student, what it takes to undergo PhD students. So without further ado, let me share with you the slides that I have prepared. I'm a bit tense now because a lot of expectation is riding on this. So I might need some reminder if I go over 10 minutes. Can the moderator remind me that the time is almost up? Okay. Okay, can you see my slides? Okay, so let's begin. When I was approached by Asunta and the team, they were actually trying to get to have more people to pursue PhD. And the way they frame it is PhD is a journey. So taking that taking that into consideration, I thought of presenting my presentation or frame my presentation in such a way that it's everything. It's a journey. It's an odyssey. So hence the topic or the title of my presentation, A Journey on Hold, Seated But Not Rested. So I'll get to it, why it's seated but not rested in a moment as we go on with my presentation for today. So you can see that I put down all three speakers here. I've asked for Asunta's picture, but she refused adamantly. But never mind. Okay. Okay, I begin my presentation, my slides with this particular line that I've thought of. Okay, I've given a lot of thought while I was doing my research on this matter. Uh, After talking with people, after talking with PhD students, talking with PhD holders, these things, this particular line comes into mind. To begin a PhD journey and to maintain the course are, to say the least, difficult. It's a fact that this journey is going to be difficult. There are challenges, or at least rumors of the trials and tribulation. So for me, when I talk to these people, when I do my research and background readings on this matter, I find that there are challenges that are very obvious that you will encounter when you are on this journey. And there are some things that are uncertain when you go and do your PhD. So that's the rumor of what you'll be doing, but it is unconfirmed. So in hopes that this talk or this session will reveal to us what is really going on in doing such in doing the PhD journey. Okay. Now, as we go on the journey, we will definitely hit an impasse, a deadlock. So this, think of it as an issue. So I can't, after going through all those talking with friends, readings, I've summed it up to 4 points. Okay, 4 issues that are very obvious to me, which is the first one: the reluctant individuals who are afraid to even take the first step. This is very true. People who are thinkers, people who overthink, will tend to be more reserved in their action. They tend to be very careful. Let's look at this. Let's look at the matter calmly, analyze it, whether I should go on this journey or not. So this individual exists, and the second one would be the long and arduous commitment of doing a PhD. So this one is very prominent. Doing a PhD is not easy. You can ask everyone who have done the PhD, and they will say the same thing. It's a very long and arduous commitment, and it's very painful for some. So this is something that we can find after interviewing people and talk to people. And the third one would be, while you are doing your PhD, you realize that you are getting nowhere. You hit a wall in your PhD journey. You find it that, oh, I don't know where to take this anymore. My findings is come up with different things. It's not something that I had expected. So you have hit a dead end in your PhD journey. So this is also a very dangerous thing. Sometimes people will fall short and stop their journey, or maybe some will even straightway quit their PhD journey. And the fourth one, I think, is the shrouded gains of a PhD. We're not sure as to what advantage after you have finished your PhD. Now, this one is a bit sensitive, maybe. Of course, we have the more, how should I say, how should I say this? Of course, we have the obvious gain, which is you get more out yourself. You grow as a person. You have more critical thinking. Maybe your way of arguing is different because you are more knowledgeable. But other than that, we are not sure as what can you get after you finish your PhD. So we'll explore more as we go on. So the only objective that I've set out for myself in this case is simply to get an inspiration. So an inspiration that I think we want to know more what drive the PhD students to go further when everybody else has turned off their lights. What make you continue? And then maybe maybe we can know more about the process of doing the PhD. What is nature of PhD? Do I need to have something big, okay, that will transform the world, or something that is simple yet critical? And of course, by the end of this session, we hope to get more people to apply for PhD, and maybe to give some hints for those who are still doing their PhD, some breakthrough in their impasse, okay, in their dialogue. So some maybe both of the speaker after me will or can tell us how do they find uh, a solution to the problem that they're facing while doing the PhD. So PhD. So I would like to attribute my seated but not rested line to this person, the thinking man actually. So while I was thinking about how to frame my presentation, so this statue or this man has inspired me. Oh, yeah, I'm on my journey. I'm on my journey maybe, but I'm seated, but I'm not rested. Okay, so let's get to the crux of the matter. After identifying the issues, the four issues that I presented just now, we need to know what's the cause of these particular issues. What's the root cause of this issue? And I believe the first one, okay, the first one is the demanding nature of the program and the associated challenge. So why do I say this? There's a study by a UNIPSAS. Okay, there's a study by UNIPSAS that says that when you enroll in this program, a PhD program, the first hurdle is to get a quality supervisor. In that case, okay, to be specific, it's to have like a quality and how available your supervisor are to you. Now, sometimes they are constrained by time. Okay, they have other graduates or postgraduate students to guide, to give consultation. So this kind of impact the research progress that you guys are currently doing. So kind of like a setback. You are doing your PhD, and sometimes the quality and the availability of the supervision is not there. And that's sometimes will cause certain students to give up. And obviously, the stress level is going to be high if you're doing if you're doing or your PhD, because you have a lot of deadlines to meet. You have to do a lot of things. You have to juggle. So why do we want to expose ourselves to this kind of challenges that causes mental health? And and at the end of the day, you don't necessarily come up a better person. By that I mean, of course, you will at the end of your journey, you feel sick, you're ill, and all that. Okay, then also when you do this kind of if you do your PhD, you will have to balance between work, study, and family. I believe this is true for most of them, because at the age of 30 or 40s, we have already have family members, we have already have children. So balancing this different sphere of your life will take a lot of your effort, and you have to be very determined in order to navigate this. So I guess the implication is it boils down to the quality and availability of the supervision, how you balance the work, study, and family life. About and I almost forgot about research grant. So obviously you have to work to get you have to work for your grant. You need money in order to fund your research. So these things will also factor in into why should I go and do my PhD. All right. So factor number two, I think it's more to the inflexible program structure and support. By inflexible program structure, meaning so when you have a scholarship that demands you to complete your program in 3 years, when in fact universities don't suggest you to take for 3 years, they okay, you should do for 4 years. Okay, that would be the optimal timeline for you to do your PhD. Or and then sometimes maybe the program requires you to not to be able, if you go overseas, they don't want you to go back to your home country in order to collect your data, and all sorts of things. So that makes that makes things hard to complete your PhD. So kind of like when we talk about support, we also talk about the monetary issue. Okay, the monetary issue whereby they are there are not a lot of sponsorship out there that offers that flexibility in terms of how you want to pursue your PhD. So they will set up, like for example, you need to pursue your study in a particular field when you want to do something else. So this kind of program structure, this kind of requirement for the scholarship kind of limit the options that you can get. Okay, this will limit the options that you can get out there, and that kind of like box your interest to, or box people from pursuing their PhD journey. And eventually, when they are faced by this problem, they cannot, or they have trouble to finish their thesis. Okay, so in that regards, however, I do want to point out that the Malaysian government also uh, has also set up many funds, many initiatives, like for example, My Brain 15 academic training schemes, PhD sponsorship program, to have more PhD students out there by 2030. So to be exact, we need another 60,000 PhD students by 2030. Uh, this indicates that yes, Malaysia, okay, we want more PhD students. However, are we ready in terms of catering to the students who wants to go or to pursue PhD? Cater, I mean by the program structure, the support given. So yes, there are support, but is it going to really help to get a place in a university in country or overseas? So that's a concern there. Okay, and then all right, it's more towards the career advancement and higher earning potential. So there's a study out there, all right, there's a study out there that 88% of PhD holders have higher salary, to be exact, on average 3,000 a month, 3,000 or more. Okay, and then 94% of PhD holders are employed as permanent employees. And that was back in 2013 until 2018. And furthermore, UOW Malaysia highlights that PhD boosts your career by allowing access to more advanced jobs, hence earning higher pay and making one more value as, and you become a valuable asset to your organization. Saying this, can we see this happening in our field? Okay, specifically, if let's say in my current work line, can I see this happening? If I pursue a doctorate, can I earn more? Or maybe is there a clear career path of a PhD graduate? If you become a PhD graduate, a PhD holder, where you are going to go? What's next? What's in store for you in the future? But I have to admit that when you have a PhD or a master's, it does help in job application. If you go to management, of course, they will consider your PhD and master. However, it does help you go through to a certain extent, but that's it. Okay. But if you go down to school, you go down to the institute level, where does it get you? So that is very unclear to me, or unclear to people who are still thinking of doing their PhD. And then, of course, the final one would be the current work commitment that these people have. This one is something that is very apparent in IPG. Okay, so this one is, I think, was more personally to me. So the goal is clear. Okay, you want to pursue PhD, but the time you need to sit down and write is a luxury that I don't necessarily have. So you want to do your proposal. You tend to prioritize some other things first. You to push back on the proposal application, and at the end of the day, you just put it aside and just okay. Let me get back to it. The question is, when will I get back to it? So this is more of how I want to balance things. If I want to do my PhD, when do I find the time to go and sit somewhere and write? So this is the fourth factor, or the fourth reason why we are, or why, at least to me, at least for me, we are putting on hold. We are not taking the next step yet. So current work commitment is actually hampering hampering the process of pursuing the study. Okay, so and furthermore, rather than going or pursuing PhD, why not I go and pursue pensyarah cemerlang? Okay, the excellent that particular line will actually lead to more pay. Okay, obviously money makes the world go round. Then I will fast track to the next position faster rather than PhD. So if we, okay, so I'm already arriving at almost at the end of my presentation. So if we reorder or we realign our presentation just now, what I've been telling you or sharing with you guys, that if we go at the beginning, it's the current work commitment. The preparation that you need to do is hampered by the commitment that you have. Okay, then if you want to prepare, if you want to go for that particular journey, I think it's more, if you look at the programs out there, the structure and the support that they can give you, it's not necessary there. And the program offered will require something like, okay, for our university, we want you to complete your PhD in 4 years. We cannot do 3 years. Or sometimes, no, our university only offer PhD, we don't offer EDD. So that kind of inflexibility and then the lack of support will create a hesitation, especially to someone who's about to go and apply for a PhD. And when you are in the midst of your journey itself, you find yourself that this journey is very demanding. And because of this demanding nature of the program, you tend to hit a dead end. You hit a wall. Where do I go from here? And furthermore, when you have, for example, you have to find your own grants, your scholarship that is not enough, and then you have to balance between family and learning. So that kind of put a pause on people. And at the end of the day, when we look at the future, what is the career prospect out there? Okay, especially in KPM, can maybe you can point out what is the career advancement program, or what is the next step after you gain your PhD? Is there potential of higher earning potential? Is there a potential of earning higher? Sorry. So that comes in. It comes into play when you want to consider the next step in your academic journey. And so I believe at the end of the day, the question I want to throw out there for you guys, especially for our two speakers for today. Is it worth it? That's a question that we can ponder, and then maybe our two speakers can answer at the end of their presentation. Is it worth it? Okay, apart from, of course, giving us the inspiration to pursue our PhD. So I believe that's all from me. I hope I did well in delivering my perspective on why people are hesitating to pursue the PhD. And then also in this presentation, I've also put in what are my thoughts on the method. And then I hope that both of you can give your view on the matter. That's all from me. Thank you. Over to you.
Right. Al, thank you for a wonderful presentation. I think you really captured the voice of many people who are hesitating to start their PhD journey. A lot of things that you raised, as you said, our two speakers will be able to answer. But what comes to mind is, it is difficult. You keep saying that it is difficult. It's true, it's difficult, but it's not impossible. It is what I would describe as excitingly tough. That was what I could, if I put a phrase to my journey, it would be that. And also, I found the whole PhD journey to be a very humbling experience. The more I thought I know about the matter, I realized the more I don't know about all the things out there. And what comes to mind, is it worth it? What comes to mind is Robert Frost, and his journey. Two roads diverge, the road not taken. Robert Frost. And that comes to mind, I shall be telling this with a sigh somewhere, ages and ages hence. Two roads diverge in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. So, hopefully, our two friends can tell us later what's the difference, and address some of your questions. We will do that. They will probably address all the questions in the roundtable discussion, the second session of the webinar. So now, from Al, thank you very much, Al, we move to Malini. Now, Malini hails from University Malaya. Actually, Malini was our ex-student from Ilmu Khas, and now she pursued her degrees in University Malaya. And the title of her presentation is Doing from Scratch, No Shortcuts. The Malini I know from her undergrad days, doing her thesis with us, her undergrad thesis with us, is someone who did this from scratch, no shortcuts. So now let's see how that principle has gone on to her PhD um, doctoral journey. Over to you, Malini.
Well, thank you, IPIK, for this opportunity. And yes, Dr. Asunta, I'm very much honored to be part of this today. Okay, I am here to share my journey. All right. So, okay, I am. Hang on, I'll just. Okay. All right. Okay. So, hello everyone. Okay, I'm Malini, currently a postgraduate student from UM. So, I'm here to share my research journey, very personal journey of mine on how did I came through and came to this stage. Okay, so what I learned from my journey is whether it's fortunately or unfortunately, there's no shortcuts. You have to do everything from scratch because in this PhD journey, you're not only producing your thesis, but you also need to defend your thesis, in which you really need to know what you're writing. So, here, just to share some overview, in my PhD journey, and I believe in everyone's, there are two major components that we need to cover: chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3. And which is mainly to get the foundation of this chapter you need to do from scratch, which is to read. You can't escape from that. And chapter 4 and chapter 5, there's no shortcuts, especially when you deal with data. When you can master these two skills, hopefully that you can make it through. And before I go further, before doing it from scratch, before going in depth on how do you do it without any shortcuts, first of all, you need to have the right attitude. I believe that I set my attitude that what I want to do. So, I mean, I do understand people say that, you start your PhD when you're ready. But for me, readiness is not a feeling or a thing that you get. For me, that it was a decision made. So I made myself ready. I don't have a choice because I want to do this. When you set your goal, when you want to do this, you want to do something, you make yourself ready. So like what did I do? I start just baby steps. I start reading first, random articles. So it may not be necessarily relatable to what you're doing. It may be anything. Just read about research, just read about what others are doing, just attend conferences, just start something first. Just start, make yourself ready. And for that, you need to have a very clear goal. When you're in the journey, set a goal just to complete. Make sure, just a broad goal, complete. So whether it's major correction, minor correction, you need an extension, you are having a breakdown, you need a break, it's okay, but complete what you have started. Don't Quitting shouldn't be in the list. Try your best. I mean, complete what you have started. And to do all this, I believe that you need to have a work schedule, a clear work structure on how to go about. So I had two, one for my thesis progress, which is with my supervisor. So I set a clear goal and a work schedule that, I need to complete my proposal defense by this semester. I need to complete my candidature defense by this semester, your thesis seminar. And, next will be Viva, the final stage. So all this, you need to be on track, data collection and all that. Because if once you miss this journey, you're going to go off track. So you need to have that. And another one for home schedule. Of course, we are all mother, daughter, parents. So we all have multiple hats, all right? So you need to make you need to prioritize things sometimes. So if you know that you can't do this at this time, do it another time. So like for me, I morning I'll be with my kids. I have family responsibilities, and I stay up late to do my research, to do my studies. And I make a point that every day I visit my thesis. Visit in the sense that I make a point to read, or at least do a mind map, or at least just go through, just go through your mind map, just go through your tables, whatever, just scroll through your thesis, but make a point. Please be consistent of doing or visiting your thesis every day, because for me, this helps. When you stop that, when you don't have that consistency, you somehow rather go off track. You don't remember what you're doing. So when you read it every day, it sort of reminds you, this is my objective, this is my problem statement, this is my findings, how should I make sense of it? So you start thinking about it every day, start questioning yourself. Even let's say you are not well, it's okay. So if there are days that you can't cope, it's okay. So do it the next day, but don't leave that gap too long. Consistency is another key, and keep a journal. The day when you start, when you're ready, when you make a decision to decide that you want to embark into this PhD journey, have a journal. And from then, start writing everything, lectures, email, conversation, conferences, write everything in the journal. Believe me, at the end of the day, when you see the journal, you would know your progress. You would know what you changed. You would know what worked out, what didn't work out. This all will help you towards your defending stage. When you defend your thesis, this sort of would help you, in my personal experience. Okay, so let's go to the main business. Okay, doing it from scratch. For me, I believe that there's no shortcuts. You need to read. And I do understand we have all these AI assisted tool, DeepSeek, Skyspace, and whatnot. Okay, why do I say you need to read is read everything, okay? Like for me, the major source is books and articles especially from credible sources. Read everything. Take everything with a pinch of salt. Take everything critically. Read, question, ask. Why does this happen? Why does this author think in this way? Read anything. Because when you start But for, of course, for articles, you need to choose credible sources. It's more of the reliability and the validity of the findings. But for other things like website, documents, social medias, they do have some good points for you to consider. Like, I shared here, these two I took this from Facebook. So it's one page which is the research methodologist, and another one I can't recall. So, but all these actually sort of gives you input on how others view research, and it's good to actually just read to understand how others view research. And what do you get from reading from scratch? All right, when you read from scratch rather than depending on this AI assisted tool, you read word by word, whereby you can see prominent authors or scholars that are related to the field. When you see similar authors being repeated several times, you sort of understand that, oh, this author actually contributes significantly to this field. So you sort of Google further about this author, then try to find out more about this author. How is this work? What kind of stance this person is taking? Go in depth. You sort of have a foundation, because different author, they argue or present their findings differently, and it's good for you to have different school of thought, because that would help you in your argument later part. And if you get these tools to sort of summarize your articles or your whatever that books that you are reading, you would miss out these little details. And not only look for similar authors or repetitive author, also look for authors that are unfamiliar. Let me share an example. The research methodology that I'm using is phenomenology. All right. So I've read a lot about phenomenology. I read X number of books, articles, presented to my supervisor, and she approved, and I got my readers approved, all that done. Okay. So I was very sure that I'm going to do phenomenology. And then towards when I was analyzing my data, I wanted to read more about how to analyze data in a phenomenology study. And I came across this prominent author in phenomenology, Manon, all right? So he sort of explained in one statement, unlike phenomenography, phenomenology doesn't do this. And he cited this author, Martin. So there's two things to see here. Phenomenography, something different, which is not what my methodology is. And Martin, a new scholar. And I was wondering, this prominent author, why is he citing this author? And there's only one time he cited this author, and there's only once he repeated this term phenomenography. And I went to the reference list and I checked that, okay, I read further about this work by phenomenography, and I realized that both phenomenology and graphy, they share the same philosophical foundation, but they are two distinct research methods. And this, true enough, this question was posed by one of my readers, whereby they asked, why did I choose this and not that? So these kind of things, when you sort of summarize, or you just skim and scan your articles, you don't get these little details. That's what I meant that read from scratch, because I don't want you all to miss this kind of little details, which will actually help you. For me, it does. And presentation style, you can see here that I've written out in my journal the way that this author presented the demographic details of the participants rather than in a narration form. So these kind of little things that when you write it in your journal, so that it will help you in your thesis later. And when you read from scratch, you sort of understand why certain authors argue certain ideas in certain way. Rather than sometimes when you're mental block, you can't write. When you say you can't write, try to read these articles. How do they argue their points? How do they put in the reference to make their points very solid, justified? So try reading this. And to avoid plagiarism, let me explain here about plagiarism. When you have a journal and when you read from scratch, how do I do it is, first, I will write the title on top. You can see here is phenomenographic perspective, so on. So when I write the title, I also write the journal, I also write the page numbers, I also write the year, I write the author. This is to ease my referencing. Another point, don't keep your referencing towards the end. Write it, update your reference list from time to time. It would really help you. Don't keep it to the last minute. So when I put this first, then I write my points. Every time when I quote these points, or I use these points for my work, I will quote the author immediately so I don't miss anything. If I don't understand, then I'll refer back to the author, the main article. So when once I read these articles, I write the points. And when I like certain quotes, I will write the quotes and the page number. This actually avoids plagiarism. You don't directly copy from the article and do your thesis. So there is two-way, there's double kind of loop, kind of reflective. From the article, you're writing in your journal, and then you're writing in your thesis. This kind of thing is sort of avoid plagiarism, and this is the way that you synthesize your thoughts. It's for me. And don't stop to reading. You need to write. At some point, you just have to write. Yes, good that you have read enough, but at some point that you have to start writing. The reading never comes to an end. You still continuously read. But after you read one section, start writing. Don't worry about grammar. Don't worry about punctuation. Don't worry about your sentence structure, how you put it. So you can see whether it's in table form, put your ideas in a mind map, table form, whatever that works for you, and just start writing. Don't worry. Like here you can see that, I have grammar errors, points are not connected, sequence connectors are not right, but it's okay. It's sort of at least that you're progressing somewhere. You're not just sitting and reading. So at least that blank paper, you're typing out something. And once you have this draft, you have achieved something that day. Even if that short paragraph does not mean anything, but it means something for you, because actually you're writing, you're putting your own thoughts. After that, you refine your work. This refining is a long process, all right? Throughout, you edit your grammar, you edit your spelling, you add on references. So based on the small chunk that you write, try to read back the next day. Okay, see what is the point. Try to relate back with the notes in your journal. See which work fits this. Try to quote that source. Read further, argue it, critique it, put in literature here and there, make it more solid. And then again, let's say when you have passed this stage, when you read again something that's related, come back to this point, add on the source again, argue again. So it goes on and on. It's a never ending process. Then at the end of the day, think back whether does this argument answers your research question. Does this answer your research objective? Always put your research objective and question above. What I do it, I put it in my header so that I remember every time. This is what I'm looking for. This is what I'm finding for. So try to do that. So don't worry at the first stage of writing. It may be rubbish. It's okay, no problem, but just write it first. Next, this is the second part, dealing with data, no shortcuts. I do understand, again, okay, I'm not against technology, just to emphasize, because we as a novice researcher, first time, you're embarking into this journey, and here we are doing our PhD. It's different that you have completed your PhD and you're just coming up with articles. That's fine. You can use all these tools. But here we need to defend what we are writing. If you're just only writing your thesis, that's fine, because we have this oral presentation that we need to defend. So you need to know your data well. You need to know your points well for the content part, which is just now reading. So dealing with data. I know there are software to transcribe your interview transcription and whatnot. I did from scratch. I transcribe every single word. I listen, pause, stop, write, think, write on comments here and there. And trust me, it helps a lot. I tried both ways, yeah. So I tried the en vivo way, and I tried using a software to analyze, because mine is a qualitative study. The nuances and the discourse behind the choice of words used by the participants, it gives you a whole lot of different argument. And trust me, dealing this data from scratch, doing it without any shortcuts, it sort of help you in your argument, because doing this, writing every word, it sort of stays in your mind. Even today, you give me an excerpt, I would sort of know from which participant it is. You remember their tone, you remember their facial expression. That's the beauty of dealing or doing it from scratch. All right, because when I transcribed mine using en vivo, and I sort of got that to thematize, it sort of didn't make sense. Okay, let me explain. Participant, like I had 6 participants. The first and second participants, for example, they said no, they don't reflect. The third, fourth, and fifth say yes, they do reflect. But what this software does is they just sort of categorize this yes and no. But when you do it from scratch, the no, it got 2 different meaning. It has 2 different meaning: a firm no and a reluctant no. Likewise for yes. So that means differently. And another thing that to point, the discourse behind the language used by the participants gives you new emerging themes for your discussion later on. So that is why it's important for you to do things from scratch. It gives you a different lot of experience. When you start doing things with shortcut, doing things here and there, you sort of don't see the bigger picture at the end of the day. That's where you get stuck. You don't know what to write, you don't know what to argue. This is based on my personal experience. I mean, some may agree, some may not, you know. Okay, next. After transcribing word by word, yes, I type it out. Okay, this is necessary. So when you type out, you see for codes. Okay, then that's where you start coding, you know, initial coding, you color code, you know, things that matches certain ideas, you put it one color, all right? Okay, so, and you know, for interviews, as I mentioned earlier, you listen, you transcribe, you type, you code. So I did this second stage. The third one, every research question, I had this table for every participant. So this is only two. So what are the three things that I see? What from every transcript that I coded, I'll see what are these codes that emerge. I group these codes together to come up with this table. So here you can see that for research question one, there are three major themes. All right. So from this, after that, there's this research question too. Also, I did the same way. After the coding process, I did into a table form. Don't worry about your grammar again, just type out their point of what they feel and what do you interpret from your data. Third, this is where I combine both research question one and question two. That's where I see, if you can see in the reflection, I sort of I sort of came up with an emerging theme, which is power dynamics, which is not related to the major, not related directly to my study. It was an emerging theme. So this was the point that I wanted to note. So when you have all this, doing it from scratch, step by step, it's a long process. Trust me, it took me almost 9 months, but it's worth it for me, because when you do things from scratch without skipping any stage, to write it's easy because you have all this on your plate. All right, from this, then also there's another metrics table. This is more of a triangulation. So based on the codes that I got from the interview transcript, I sort of triangulate with the classroom observation, with the documents and other important resources that I've collected. And then from then I see that how do I triangulate my data. So these were the main themes. So from, let's say, at point CBA is student centered, then how is this point triangulated with three different sources. So this is how I see. So there's a huge long process of dealing with data, and if you do it from scratch, you sort of see the bigger picture. And how did I sustain this journey? It's a long journey. Of course, I cried. You know, I also was. It was difficult for me to continue, and I had issues and challenges. But what kept me going was attending conferences. So I attended a lot of conferences. I try my best to present. And whenever I'm in a conference, I present part of my research question. Let's say in conference one, I present my first research question, 1A, conference 2, 2B, or 1B, and this goes on. And when every conference that I attend, you have experts to comment on your work. And for me, throughout my journey of presenting, I got experts to comment, they shared email, they checked my work. So I sort of got views and feedback from an external person besides your supervisor. It's good that you can see you are practicing how do you justify your points and to see whether others can make sense of what you're doing. When this goes on, you sort of build up your thesis from time to time. At the end of the day, you sort of have all these solid arguments, feedback. Take down their feedback, see what others think about your work. It'll be easier for you to write. Present your work, see what you can gain, attend competitions, try to win something. Even if you don't win, it's okay. Celebrate little successes. And most importantly, talk about your work. I do talk about my work. I have good friends that I sit and talk about my work. We present. We don't understand anything. We present. We get people to read our work. We get people to comment on our work. We read theirs. So these kind of things. The more you talk about your work, the more you remember what you're writing. I also have a support group, the QM postgraduate group. I would recommend all to join. It's free and it's international students. So we have national, international, and local students. We share our ideas. We celebrate each other's success. We do have midnight conversations via Google Meet. All right, so do that. And when you attend conferences, you meet prominent authors like Creswell. So these kind of things, this is to motivate you that please attend conferences, build your network, come to this journey. It is difficult, of course. It is difficult, but trust me, there are some kind souls here and there. So make that going. I mean, do something and don't quit. So that is all from me today. Thank you very much.
Hi, Malini. Thank you for the wonderful presentation. You sound the same as you did, that excitement in your voice, like when you were doing your undergrad thesis. I'm so happy to hear that. And what you said is very true. You know, I like that important point that you made. Uh, Read not just about the prominent authors, but also the non prominent one. That was something new. That is good. And I totally agree with you. Talking about your work actually helps to make it better. Talking to all kinds of people, in fact, those who are not in your field also helps, because then you know how much more to make it clearer, or whether you are being, focused in your work. So thank you for the good tips. I'm excited for our roundtable discussion afterwards. So, without further delay, I call upon Praveen Dharan. Praveen is also pursuing his doctoral studies in where is that? King's College, London. And I like this title very much, PhD Unmasked, because it's always a mystery why you want to start PhD or what happens in that journey. So, besides you, we have one more person who is now in the journey of PhD. So, over to you, Praveen.
Hi, I hope you can hear me. I hope I'm audible, and I think my slides will be shared in a bit. So yeah, I think it should be shared now. But anyway, hi. So while we're waiting for the slides to be shared, yes, which is there. All right. So my name is Praveen Balakrishnan, Praveen Dharan Balakrishnan, and today I'm going to talk about PhD Unmasked: Myths, Realities, and Hidden Truths. Um, So I'm quite excited to be here. So before I really start, I know I have 10 minutes, but before I start, I just want to say thanks to Mr. Elamare, my good friend, more like a brother, who invited me for this, and also Dr. Asunta and everyone who agreed to have me on board. It's a real honor for me to be sharing this. To be honest, I'm not someone who really shares stuff, like this kind of, especially for this kind of topics, because I think PhD is a very personal journey. But I thought I'll make an exception this time, so that's why I'm here. Um, so I think I'm very glad that L ended off asking, is it worth it to start the journey? And I think that is something, it's a very personal question. Is it worth it for you to start a journey where you're investing a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of sacrifices? So that is something that only you can answer, someone can answer. But we'll go into that a bit later. And I'm very glad that Malini really brought the discussion in a very academic way. I was talking to her colleague, Suren, before this, like just right before doing a presentation. And he also said, oh, Malini is like on spot. And this is great that she spoke a lot about the academic side of it, because that's something which I'm not going to cover. And that is really important for this whole roundtable that we're going to have later. And my presentation will be more about trying to find yourself kind of thing lah. Okay, so this is what I'm going to talk about today. What is a PhD? A brief glance of my own educational journey, and I think that's important that I position myself, the myths around it, the realities around it, and some hidden truths and reflective conclusion. I'm not going to talk so much. I would try to keep my presentation within 10 minutes. And I don't think it'll be very well detailed because I'm looking forward to just the round table. But let's just start. So I think it's important first to briefly glance on my journey. In no way I intend to humble brag or try to say, look, I've made it, I'm doing the PhD. There's no way I'm trying to do that. Rather, I'm trying to just show to you like how my entire life has always been about scholarships. So I was born and raised in Buntung. I went to St. Michael's in Ipoh. And from so to there's a reason why I specifically mentioned Buntung, like where I come from. It's not the best place on earth. I come from a very street background, quite a poor background. This is where I come from. So, but today I'm here at King's, so it's important for me to actually really reflect that. What I'm trying to say is that if I can make it, you also can make it. I don't think I've made it lah. I'm still very far from there. But this is where I come from. I come from Buntung, and I have been on. I got this beasiswa kecil buku kecil persekutuan or beasiswa kecil persekutuan since Form 1. So I've always been on scholarships. In a way, the Malaysian government has always funded me right when I was a secondary school student because I barely had money. Then I got a scholarship again after my SPM. I went to IPG campus Darul Aman Jitra. This is where I met Al and a lot of other good friends who I think is watching today. So I got a scholarship there. Then eventually I got very lucky. I was at the right place at the right time because I know the government only funded the first two cohorts, the first two badges, I think. And then the third and fourth, they did it locally. So I was very lucky that I was there at the right place at the right time. You know, you just get lucky in life sometimes, and I was one of them. I went to Portsmouth 3 years, and then I went to Besut and taught for 4 years. I think this is really important for me to say. I worked 4 years as a teacher. I did not rush into my master's journey. I did not rush into my PhD journey. I actually worked 4 years. I never thought about the master's. I never thought about the PhD. I was just having fun teaching in a remote place in Besut called SMK Tengku Mahmud 2. We won some grants. We did some good stuff. We set up a classroom lab with all these Chromebooks and stuff from YTL Foundation. We won like 20,000 from them. For me, I mean, there's a lot of things I can say, but I was just having mad fun. I didn't really bother so much about achieving for success, and I think this was really important. It's really important for you if you're a teacher trainee right now, if you're one of else a student right now. It's very important for you to go to school and do your stuff and teach, not really think about where you what you aspire to be. Because I think sometimes when you have this kind of targets, you kind of miss the best things in life. And I had great fun here for 4 years. I worked near Perhentian Island. So usually in weekends, like every month or so, we would go to Perhentian. Then in 2018, I think I got bored out. I think I got bored of teaching. And eventually, right after 4 years, you kind of have a burnout. You kind of, I mean, this happens to everyone. You kind of ask yourself, what's going on in your life, and so on. Anyway, so I applied for a Fulbright scholarship and I got it. So I went to, I did my master's in Loyola University Chicago. Again, fully funded. I had other offers. Again, I don't intend to humble brag, but I just want to tell to you, I got a few offers from Columbia University and also Harvard, but I didn't have the money because those universities I needed to pay like 20,000. So there's no way I have no money. So I went to Loyola University Chicago, who gave me full funding. Now the reason why I'm saying this is even in your own journey, sometimes you will need to make some choices. You get some like good universities, and then you need to pay some money, and then you get like a university is willing to give you a full 100% scholarship. Probably just take the one that's giving you 100% scholarship because it's really not worth it to spend your finance. Like me, I have no finance, so if sometimes it's really not worth it to spend your finance on education when you know you can get it for free. But we'll go into that later. Then after finishing my masters, I went back to Kuala Terengganu, and I got married and I have a kid. I got a kid in 2021, which is very fundamental in my life. Anyway, so I went back to Kuala Terengganu and I worked for 3 years. Again, this was quite I would say it's a crazy move, I would say. Because why? I had a master's in education policy. It was not in pedagogy, but I went back to Kuala Terengganu, which in fact, many people were asking me, what are you doing with your life? Going back to school. When you should be going to KPM or PPD or whatever, because I had my master's was in policy. I didn't really bother. For me, end of the day, I just wanted to teach in some ways. And I was in a different stage of life at that point. So I was like, okay, fine, I'll just go back to school. And I think I had fun there. I didn't look for any promotion. I was a normal teacher, I would say, ordinary teacher, but no, it was like really good because I really enjoyed my time there as well. And then eventually I got a scholarship to do my PhD. But I just need to mention this also. During that 3 years while I was in Kuala Terengganu, I was very aware, because of my master's knowledge, I was very aware of the certain things, and that's when I started writing my proposal for the PhD. So it wasn't really something like uh, I wasn't just having fun all the time. I was also in a way writing my proposal and looking for supervisors, and eventually it worked out. Okay, so what is a PhD? So now we get to the real core part of this presentation. A PhD is basically a specialized course focusing on a very niche area. Only you know your topic. It's a 3 to 5 year long commitment. If you're going to the US, it's going to be longer, 6 to 7, I guess. I have a friend who's currently in US. And I think he's at Ohio State University, and I think he's like trying to finish everything within 4 to 5 years. But that's a super hardworking guy. But in the US, it's much longer. If you're in the UK, then 3 to 4 years it will suffice. PhD is an intellectual pursuit. It's not a material pursuit. Many people confuse it. They think PhD is like, oh, you do PhD, you're gonna get a good job, you're gonna have a career advancement. No, you're not, because there's a few reasons to that. Number one, if you're watching this, I'm pretty sure you are bonded by KPM, right? In a way. So in a way, I'm not saying that you can't control your destiny, but when you're working for such a big organization, having a PhD does not make you really stand out, because basically everyone on top there has a PhD. So it's not a guaranteed career advancement thing. And it's also not a sense of self-absorbed ego boost. If you're going to the PhD thinking that you're smart, you're this and that, you will be surprised how it can humble you. And I think Dr. Asunta also said very early on, right? Um, PhD has been very humbling. It's a very humbling experience. And I think Malini did mention she spent 9 months doing her whole data analysis, and that actually can be a very humbling experience, because if you are someone's like really on the go, you're spending 9 months analyzing data, it can really humble you down. It can really make you feel like, what am I doing? You make you question a lot of things. So definitely PhD is not a sense of self-absorbed ego boost. It's much more than that. And it's definitely not a material pursuit. In fact, you kind of lose more than what you're going to gain actually. But it's an intellectual pursuit lah. If you really want to go for it, then you should go for it. Okay, I know I'm running out of time, so I'll just be a little bit quicker. So why doing a PhD might not be right for you? So PhD is, I won't say it's a step forward. It also can be a step back. Of course, in many ways, when you're doing the PhD, people are saying, "Hey, it's a step forward in your career. You're doing the right thing." But it also can be a step back, especially if you're not redeployed at the right place. So it depends where you are in your career actually. So if you're early into your career, it's worth considering. But I would say if you're going to graduate soon and then work, please spend 2 to 3 years. I should spend 2 years like at least. Like, do not think about the PhD, do not think about the masters, just focus on your students. Because this is what I see, right? What you give back, it really comes back to you. Like my friends who are receiving the HLP for their masters right now, they spent years in the classroom actually, and they did really fantastic jobs. And those people who rush to do their masters or PhD, right, I don't see them going anywhere. Now I know this is a hard thing for me I think it's not fair for me to say that, but I just realized that if you're really honest about your work and you really think about your students, if you're a teacher, um eventually good things come to you. Eventually it will. Like I spent 4 years in Besut really working with the students, not really caring about doing the masters. It suddenly came to me out of the blue one day. Then I thought, okay, I know what, I'll apply for the Fulbright. It wasn't a planned thing. I wasn't planning to apply for Fulbright my first year. No, it was after the third. It was really after the fourth year. Then I thought, you know what, I'm going to apply for something just for fun, and I got it. I got, in a way, I got very lucky. But my point here is, I think I got it because I've done a lot of good stuff with my students in a way. I know I should not ever coin it that way because it sounds very like, oh, there's a cause and effect thing, and it sounds like, it doesn't sound right to say that. But when I see my friends around me who are getting the HLP, this is what I notice. These people, they have sacrificed themselves and somehow they get some kind of reward at the end of the day. But it's all very unspoken. I also know people who sacrifice so much but don't get anything end of the day. So again, it really depends. Yeah. So if you're new into the profession, please spend 2 years really understanding what you're doing, 2 to 3 years. Then maybe after a third year, you can think about it. Because in a way, your students really need your focus. Okay. So again, if you're mid into your career, it's worth considering. If you're late into your career, but you have an intellectual goal, worth considering. I'm at King's. I know people who are like 50 years old who are doing their PhD. Like she's my friend. Yeah, she's my colleague of mine. She's like 51 this year and she's doing her PhD. Yeah, so if you want to unnecessarily challenge yourself, you have nothing better to do in your life, you have money, you have nothing else to do, go and challenge yourself, do a PhD. But if you're all set in your career, I think maybe it's not worth considering. This is something, maybe we go back to what Al said earlier on. Is it worth it? Like, I'm all set in my career, I'm in the right place, is it worth it for me to go and do the PhD? I mean, in Al's case, of course, he has to do the PhD eventually, because he's in Maktab, he's in IPG. Yeah, but it really depends. If you're all set in your career, you have no intellectual pursuit, I don't think you need to do it. But, you know, there's also, things will change, right? Myths around PhD are only for geniuses. Wrong. I think from Malini's presentation, we know it's all about being consistent. Once you have a job, once you have a PhD, jobs will come easy. Definitely not. This is a big myth. In fact, once you have a PhD, you're overqualified. Sometimes people don't want to hire you. You will not change the world with your thesis. I think if you're an undergraduate right now, you are doing a thesis, it's not going to change the world. Trust me. Your thesis is just like anyone else's thesis. But what will change the world, or what will change the surrounding, is your attitude. So that when the PhD humbles you and makes you a better person, and you go out to the real world, you become more understanding and have more empathy, that will change the world, but not your thesis. It's just more school, right? It is kind of more school, but PhD is kind of a work thing. You need to like spend 9 to 5 every day, like how you spend time at work. And everyone finishes. That's also another myth. You can start the PhD, but not everyone finishes. So that's something you really need to consider before you want to start a PhD. Realities around PhD. Okay, mental health struggles are common. If you do not have a support system, it's really tough. It can get really into you because you're constantly doubting yourself. Imposter syndrome is real. Funding is precarious. Advisor-student relationships can make or break the experience. I think this is the most important thing. When I think Al said early on, right, looking for a supervisor, I think ultimately that is what makes a PhD. You really need to have a good relationship with your supervisor, because you need to look at it this way. The thesis that you're writing is, you are the only person who know what you're writing, and your supervisor is kind of guiding you, kind of showing to you the light way. Your supervisor might not be the best person to know what you're writing about, but your supervisor is the person who's going to say, all right, you're probably on the right path. So you need to have a great relationship with them. If you don't, it's probably going to go down the drain. And it's a test of endurance, not just intelligence. You can be super intelligent, but if you don't have endurance, if you're not consistent, the PhD is not for you. And for some people, the PhD will not make sense for them, because why would you spend 3 to 5 years researching on something when you are someone who's always on the ground? So again, you need to ask yourself, is this, I think Malaysia has this fetish on, we need to get, I think Sir Al told this early on, like 60,000 people by 2023 has to have a PhD. We have this whole fetish that we need to hit these numbers so that we become a more developed nation. And I think that is the problem we are seeing now. Many universities are just churning out all of these PhDs, but is it really meaningful for them, and also for the institutes as well? So hidden truths, again, choose your advisor wisely. Treat it like a job. You need a support network. Document your wins. Don't wait to explore non-academic options. This if you plan to quit KPM one day. Hopefully not, because KPM needs you, but it's your life. You can decide what you want end of the day. And I think I really want to focus on document your wins, because I just want to say this very quickly. If you're planning to start the PhD, I know someone from the IPG is going to start his PhD. You really need to present in conferences. I didn't show pictures here, which I think I should have, but in my first year, I'm in my second year now. In my first year, I presented in 11 different conferences. It takes a lot of time, lots of sacrifices, but it's worth it lah, because your work becomes better over time. The more you present, the more you get attacked, the more people say your work is rubbish, and then you try to find ways to make sure your work is better. So eventually you get better. But it's good when people say your work is rubbish, because that means they're engaging with your work. Of course, this is not coming from just haters lah, like people who actually care about the field. So end of the day, you need to ask yourself, what is success? Success equals to growth, contribution, and impact. And what is the life that you want to build? a PhD is not a destination. I went into the PhD thinking it's a destination. Like it was like, oh, okay, I did my masters, I did my bachelor's, I did my masters. When I did my bachelor's, people said, oh, you're so smart, Praveen, you should do a master's, you should do a PhD. Then I did the masters, then I did the PhD. It was like a given. I think if I can reflect back, I think the best thing is you need to ask yourself, what can you do with the PhD? Because end of the day, the PhD is just a tool. It really depends on your own destination, and really what you want from this life. Because I think this past few months I've had an opportunity to really reflect on my own journey, and I've been asking myself, um, what I intend to do with this PhD end of the day. And I think that's a question which I'm still trying to answer. But what I've gathered so far is like this whole experience has made me really a different scholar, teacher, and it has really helped me to really understand myself so that I know what I can do to make the world around me a little better. And I think ultimately that's what PhD is like, is how you can make people's life around you better. It's really not about you achieving things. You can achieve stuff and all that, but all of that gives you very little meaning. It really comes down to how your skill set can benefit others and what kind of joy you can derive from that. I think, yeah, I think that's the end of my presentation. I know it was not really a very tangible kind of presentation, but I think if you're starting to think about the PhD, it's important for you to have these thoughts like, where is your end goal, and what can you do right now to reach to that end goal, and how will that whole experience will be meaningful to you, and how you can, and what sacrifices that you need to make. Many people go into the PhD not sure what are the sacrifices they're going to do, and ultimately they burn themselves out. So it's good that you have an idea. Okay, if I'm going to do this, this is probably the consequence, and how I can mitigate, or like dampen that that issue from becoming worse. Okay, I think that's the end of my presentation. Thank you very much.
Right. Thank you, Praveen. What you said is so true. Yeah, we want to take it light and easy in this session, because what we actually wanted to talk about PhD. Why do I start? How do I sustain? And all your presentations, all three of you, kind of voiced out all these things that many people are finding themselves in this PhD journey. And I like what you said. It's the empathy that changes the world, not your PhD thesis. And that is so true, because at the end of the day, we all feel so attached to our thesis and think that we can do great things with it. But after a few years, then you realize that it's all the little things that you do and what you have experienced during your PhD journey that makes a difference in the lives of all the students that come, that we touch. Now, what I find among these three of you, as you are presented, is the passion that you have for teaching, passion that you have for your students, passion that you have to make the teaching world a better place. And that has come through very strongly in all your presentations. So thank you very much. And I'm sure out there, everyone can resonate with what you all have been sharing with us. Now we go to our exciting discussion part. So Nick and Nick, we have our two technical assistants. One is Nick, N-I-K, and the other one is N-I-C-K. So Nick and Nick, can you put all four of us together? Right. Another two more. Thank you so much, all of you. We are still waiting for Malini to join us.
Can't seem to. Yeah. All right.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so now this part of the session that we're going to hold is, Elle and I have a few questions to ask both of you who are now in this journey, in the midst of your journey. So we will ask Elle to start with. Elle, do you have any questions you want to ask them? Since your friend has been telling much about you, Elle.
It's just trying to pull my leg. Okay. So my first question to you, Malini. My first question is for you, Malini. So I mean, I can see that you have the grit and the passion. It really shows when you were presenting that you have the grit and passion to drive through your research. You're very intricate, meticulous. You do things repeatedly. Now, after all that done and dusted, have you figured out where you're going after this?
She's coming to us at the IPGs, Al.
Let's see. Let's
Thank you very
see. What?
much, Elle. Thank you so much for the question. Okay, actually, as what Praveen said, actually, it all depends on you. I really didn't think where I'm going to be next. I didn't think about how it's going to be in future. But the reason I embarked into this journey because I wanted to know more about research. Honestly, I really wanted. For me, my goal is when I do something, I have to do it the right way. So if I'm doing a PhD, I want to do a proper PhD. So if it's either I do it or I don't do it. So I'm not sure, even if I go back to school, I will still attend conferences, I'll still write articles, I'll still teach my students, I'll still help my other colleagues. If I'm in IPG, I will still do research, I'll still teach my future students, and I will still be there. But what stays in me is the experience that I get of doing this research journey. So if I'm in IPG, I'll teach my students this is the right way. I wouldn't impose on them, but this is one of the way that you can do it, that which helped me. So but of course technology may change, things may change, but I don't know, El, but this is very subjective, but this is how I see it. Yeah.
So, so
So
I can
I
see from
see there's
both
a.
of
Sorry, go ahead, Al.
okay, I can see from both of your presentation. I think you guys haven't figured out what's the next step yet. So Malini is obvious. So Praveen is also the same way. I think. What's cooking? I mean, what do you have in your mind? What's next after you finish your PhD?
Right. Okay. So I think this is an interesting question. I want to be completely honest. I mean, I can also, I'm trying to be as honest as I can, and not try to. But when you're honest, sometimes you come out as bragging, right? So I don't know. I don't. That's not my intention. My intention is to be honest. Okay. My intention is very simple. Okay. So when I did this, I came back for the field work. I was in Malaysia from March, end of March, to end of June. And I went interviewed some of this KPM stuff. I went to this delivery management unit. I went to there's a few more units, right? And each people that I went to do the interviews for my PhD, they said, "Oh, you should come and join our department. You should come and join our department." So I think there are opportunities out there. It's just a matter of looking for it, and then trying to position yourself. But if you really ask me what I plan to do, like after the PhD, I think I don't intend to be in I don't intend to be in KPM. I don't intend to be in this PPD JPN. I think it's too bureaucratic for me. They'll hate me. I'll be fired in the first day, maybe after 1 week lah, after they know me. So it won't work out for me lah in those kind of places. So I think for me, maybe going back to school is an option, or doing my own thing, right? Like work for a few years in school, then probably quit and do my own thing. But I definitely don't think I can be in a KPM setting. Did I say something wrong? If I did, I'm sorry, but I don't think I can work in a very bureaucratic organization. This is what I
I
learned. When I
don't.
saw them interviewing them, I'm like, oh no, I can't do this. I think Al, you have a lot of experience, but let's not go into that. That's a different
And
conversation.
let's not go. Let's move
But
to that.
yeah,
Okay, over
I
to
mean,
you.
Al, I would like to respond to that. I need, after my PhD, I was excited to come back to teach, especially the research papers. We are creating emerging researchers, and when they are in the beginning doing their proposal and also they struggle. But when they start collecting data, and then you see their eyes shine, when they analyze and they find something worthwhile talking about in their little research, that for me was exciting. So I guess it's like, what's your future plan? There's no one future plan, probably a few future plans about what do you want to do with that PhD experience? I guess that's what excited me to come back and teach, and especially the research subject. Right. There was a Nick, just now there was a question posed, right? Looking back, can you make that available again? Looking back, how did your expectations at the beginning of your PhD compare to the actual experience? I guess this is what, many of those who are beginning to start PhD would like to know as well. Shall I repeat the question to Malini and also to Praveen? Looking back, how did your expectation at the beginning, that means before you embark on the journey, compared to your actual experience?
Okay, I can go first if that's fine,
Okay.
Malini. Okay. Yeah, I think Malini. So I'll go first. So how did your expectations shift? So the thing for me is I did my masters in the US, so I've kind of knew how the PhD would be. So I didn't expect a lot of how to say, a lot of supervision to assist me. Like I'm quite autonomous.
Mm-hmm.
So and also I also do this crazy. So I live in Bristol because the family is here, and I study in London. So every week I travel 3 hours, 6 hours,
Okay.
3 hours by bus. So I do that like twice a week, and I didn't. So for me, that physicality was what I didn't expect. In terms of
Okay.
academic wise, I initially thought there would be not a lot of support, but then I was wrong. There was a lot of conferences. There was a lot of online forums, like what Malini also
Mm.
shared. I found
Mm.
those really helpful. So that are the positive things, lah. Yeah.
Okay. What about you, Nalini? Malini over here
Yeah.
in Malaysia?
Okay, I will just add on to Praveen's one. For me, looking back, um, I realized I did this mistake during my masters. When I started my masters, then I was really into business. That's the time. The moment I enrolled, then I started reading at that point of time. I started doing everything at that very point of time. But for my PhD, as what Praveen mentioned in his slide earlier, it took me 2 years just to read and just to make sure that I have this idea, to make sure that this is the
Mm.
field that I'm going to. Even you don't have that specific area that you want to hit on, but you need to start reading before even you embark into this journey. Because when once you're in that journey, you already have to start writing. You already sort of, you
Mm.
don't at that point of time, you're finding your problem, you're finding your research articles, then you're going to have
Mm.
an issue. That is the thing that no one
Mm.
told me. I learned that from my masters, and for my PhD, I thought I would start earlier. So it took me a while until I started my PhD. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really important. Not many of us, when we get the chuti belajar, then only we start the belajar part, and then we get
Yeah.
diverted into the chuti part, and then we forget about the belajar, which is very true. I think you need to start beforehand. Don't rush into it. So all of you out there, budding PhD scholars, remember, read first. Get yourself ready physically, mentally, discuss with your family, the sacrifices. There are sacrifices that need to be made. Sacrifices, and, before you start the journey, so that you're not halfway in it and then you are stuck. Right? Um, right. Al, do you have another question for them?
Yeah, I think I do. I mean, but first let me respond to Malini and Praveen. I kind of,
Okay.
I kind of get like a picture where you guys just jump into it. You just start. But what Malini just said just now was that I had like 2 years preparation into it. Then I go and apply. So is it the same for you, Praveen? You like prepare first, or you just let's go, let's just go?
I think for my masters, right, it was just go, applied, got it. Then I went and like, oh, like just did it. For the PhD, I was more calculated. I kind okay,
Yeah, for your
so
masters you were doing the fast track. You completed master 1 year and a half in US,
yes,
then come back.
yes. I
Wow,
because I
really
couldn't do another
crazy.
winter.
Ah.
Yeah, couldn't do another Chicago winter. Wow, such a T20 thing to say. I can't deal with winter. Wow. Anyway, but uh, anyway, yeah, I just wanted to get it done. But for the PhD, to be honest, I was very calculated. So, like I say, I would say to all those your students are watching this, right? When you go to schools, the first 2 years are really crucial. The third year you start to burn out because eventually you become part of the system. This happens to everybody. You're
Yeah.
not an exception, right? You go into it. The first 2 years you are very eager to do things, and then the third year, fourth year, you become part of the bureaucratic system that deprofessionalizes you. That you become you're no more a teacher, you're a technician. You have to do the learning outcomes and stuff like that. Right? Okay. Anyway, so the first 2 years you really need to observe what is happening in school. Don't think about the PhD. What is happening, right? Then you get some inspiration. Oh, you know what? This is happening. This is what I want to know. I'm sure Malini had that also. Like she went there. Okay, you know what? This is what I really want to know. And then she went into the PhD, right, making the proposal and stuff. So, but it takes time. It takes a year. It takes a year. I would say it took me like a year to get the proposal, refine it, approaching for supervisors. Yeah.
Okay,
Right.
so
I
it's
think
not
I
just
agree with, sorry, Al. At PhD, once you enter for a PhD study, right, what your supervisors expect you to display, demonstrate independent learning. So if you are kind of, clinging on to supervisor to tell them, for them to tell you what to read, what to do, and how to chart your PhD journey, it won't happen. Because at this level, you are supposed to demonstrate independent learning, thinking, doing the process, and you are just, trashing out ideas with them. So for those who are thinking of starting a PhD journey, that's very important. Master's level is different. At PhD, you need to demonstrate independent and control of your own work.
oh,
All right. So now I
so.
have. Okay, continue, L.
Do we still have time? I have one more question.
Yes, yes, we do have time.
Okay. So like for this one, let's pivot. So I have a few colleagues out there who did their PhD on the scholarships, and then they finish the scholarship and they come back, and then suddenly they are headhunted by universities out there, and suddenly, oh, I wanna quit becoming a teacher. I don't want to work here anymore. Then they go and teach in universities because they want to. Maybe. Why do you think this happened? Maybe you have some inkling or maybe perspective on the matter.
Yeah.
So
I
Malini or Praveen.
yeah. So I can give a very quick answer. I think this really goes back to what Dr. Asunta said, right? Like after doing PhD, you develop a love for research, and you can't get that at IPG level. I mean, maybe you can, but it's really hard. You can't get that at school, definitely. And when you have this love for research, theoretical frameworks, methods, blah blah blah, you feel you're underutilized in these places, and then you become really unhappy. And eventually you like want to move on. I think to be also that is what I think. Sometimes you just like you just have this love and passion for research, and you feel in universities you can do it. But then you know what? You go to university, you're also back to teaching. And it doesn't really change. So I think ultimately that's why lah they would want to leave. And also sometimes it's just status. Like I work in let's say university. I work in this university. I'm doing something in my
Yeah.
life. You feel like you're progressed. You feel like you have a sense of progress. So maybe that's why.
So now we have the bitter truth out there. You will be headhunted. And the truth is true. I think many of them, after finishing a PhD, you have this passion for research. And if you are in a university setting, probably you have more opportunities to do that. Whereas in our system, you hardly have much. But that is why we are also trying to inject this, action research into teaching, so that the research part is always there. And we are actually some way or other doing little research. It's just that we don't document it, right, Praveen? Even in school, when you have to face a problem, you think of solutions and all that, right? Yeah, that's nice. Uh, right. I have one more question. You know, we have Malini from here, local setting, and we have Praveen from abroad. So, how does the community, I'm talking about the community of your community of university community and the community out there, how does it change your perspective, or how does it influence you as a researcher in this PhD journey?
Hi, I will just share. I just share, Dr. Asanta, what I feel. All right. Okay. During my bachelor's, I was in QUT Australia. So we did just a research paper,
Yeah,
and compared to what my master's and my PhD here is in UM. So there's two different ways on how they celebrate ideas. All right, but
knowledge.
and
Yeah,
that's perfect. Yes, not knowledge. You're right. So and
yeah.
that's perfectly fine. Okay. Back in QT, every little idea. They celebrate, they respect in different ways. You see, you uh, things are done, they make a big deal of it, they respect your views, all right, but here they do so maybe of the way the Asian education system is like here, as what Praveen mentioned, in a bureaucratic working environment. um, it's sort of you're sort of you have to follow a certain structure. This is how it should be. There's a benchmark on how a perfect thesis should be. So like for me, again, it's very subjective. You can't follow someone's thesis. You can read their thesis, you can get their ideas, you can see how they write, but try your best not to follow word by word, because then it's not going to be your
Mm,
thesis, because a
very
thesis is
true.
very subjective. Yeah, you need to write according to your own way. You must understand your problem, you must understand your objective, and you must understand your findings, and write in your own language. And if you read and if you do things from scratch, you know what you're writing, you're able to justify that, and your supervisors, hopefully they would agree to it. You can convince them, I hope. Yeah, hopefully. So yeah, that's my thought.
And Praveen?
Yeah. So the question is, how has the research community helped you to grow
Mm,
as a as a doctoral student? Uh, I think the research community is the most important community you're going to have when you're doing the
mm,
PhD. So it's very important you align yourselves. Not, you don't have to align yourself. You have a community, research or just a community to have you. So I'll just, the biggest reason for this is when you're doing the PhD, it's a very lonely journey, right?
correct.
It's very you're very
Correct.
detached from a lot of things, and sometimes you need to have a community that kind of validates what you're doing. And I think this
Mm,
is, everyone needs that. We all need validation. That's why we're humans.
yeah.
But the one thing for me, the reasons going beyond, I want to go back to the first question earlier, right? What was the actual expectation,
Mm,
and and what happened, right? And
yeah.
your actual experience, expectation and
Mm,
experience. So when I started the PhD, my father was around 80 years old, like 84, and I knew at the back of my mind he's gonna die at some point
mm,
when while I'm doing the PhD, and rightly so. In February this year, he died, and I was in the
okay.
UK at that point. And what I really needed that time was a community that would not ask me too much questions, but rather a community who would like say like, hey, if you need us, we are here. And so eventually, I actually flew out to Malaysia to attend his funeral, and I think I met Al at that time as well. So I went back for 4 days and I came back. So my point here is having this kind of communities are really helpful when you are going, and these people, they actually raised a bit of money for me, like my cohort, my from Portsmouth, when we studied my undergrad, they gave me like around, we had they did a collection, and the guys who are in Malaysian scholars who are in HLP, they also made a very small collection, not small, a big collection, and sent to me as well. So I think the research community is really important because it really helps you to kind of know that you have people you can lean back to for validation, for support. Because shit can I mean, so anything can happen during a PhD. And I've been through a lot of losses. Like my father died in February. Before that, my brother died the previous year in May. So these
God.
losses really hit me hard. But it was very important that I go through these losses. Maybe I can share them with people in the future. But yeah, these are the things which you don't expect. But I kind of knew that he will probably leave. But when it hit me, then it was a whole new experience. Oh, that's how death feels. I mean, my mother already died way back lah. But my point was, when it hits you, then you're like, it brings you to a total different thing. You can have a lot of expectations, but when something hits you hard, that is when you're like, okay, this is something which you can't do alone. You do
Yeah.
need a community.
Yeah, true. So while doing a PhD journey, you are supposed to demonstrate independence, but it's the community that upholds you to, to carry on the journey. Yeah. So now we are almost coming to the end. So I just want, in a sentence or two, a summary or something that you want to leave behind for our viewers to reflect, to think about, and to be encouraged to pursue their PhD as well, or if they are stuck halfway, to not give up but to continue. Okay, so we'll start with Malini first. In one or two sentences, a take-home message from you.
For me, quitting should never be an option. Please don't quit. Don't ever think of quitting. When you have problems, try to solve it. Fine. I mean, I'm sure you have this research community, as what Praveen is saying. I mean, proud of you, Praveen, that you are still doing this. But
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, that shouldn't be an option, because when that's an option, what we're implying to our kids, to our future generation, that they can quit. It's easy to get distracted. It's easy, for good things, it's difficult. You need to sacrifice, and so go all out. That's for me.
yeah. Thank you, Malini. Pravin, a take-home message from you?
Yeah, yeah. I would say, like, although I don't portray that thing, but inside you, you need to have like this unshakable self belief, lah. And I think this is the most important thing. Like, if you don't have self belief, I mean, you don't have to say to the whole world, I'm really good. I'll get there. I'll do it. No, you don't have to say it. But inside you, like deep down inside you,
Yeah,
you need to be like,
yeah,
you have to be really unshakable, lah.
yeah,
Because if you have that in you, shit. I mean, anything can happen, but you can kind of overcome it if
yeah,
you have like immense amount of self belief, lah. So I would say,
yeah,
like if you're planning PhD or you're going to head there, you must have this crazy amount of self belief, lah, in you that
yeah.
you
Which
will
is,
get there.
it's
Yeah.
true because sometimes you may lose it, but the scholarship providers have seen something in you to give you that scholarship. So believe in yourself and not give up. And now we come to my colleague and your friends, Al. A take-home
Uh,
message or a take-home question, Al.
the take-home question. So I think it all boils down when whether all of this journey is worth it. So after listening to both of them, I think in some way they find their journey worthwhile because they are doing what they want. They believe in what they are doing. So I think that really counts. Aside from the monetary gains and all those things that comes after that, uh, I think it's in the self belief and the belief in what they're doing is the thing that can change things
Yeah,
around them. So I think
yeah.
in the end of the day, yeah, I think it's worth it
So
for
when
me.
are you enrolling for one, Al?
Marini took
All
two
right.
years to prepare,
So
so
it
I'll take
has
three
been
years.
okay. That's good advice.
Mm.
All right. So now, ladies and gentlemen, and friends out there, we have come to the end of our discussion. It has been a lively discussion, very light and easy, and very honest and truthful. We don't want to mask anything like what Praveen says, and we want to start from scratch. If it takes time for you to actually start on this journey, take the time. Don't rush. But it is a very satisfying and rewarding journey. It's a very humbling one. It's excitingly tough, but it is very satisfying at the end. Do it, everyone out there. If you haven't started, enroll for one of your postgrad studies today. Okay, so Nick and Nick, are we ready for the last part? That is, we're going to have. Are you ready? Okay. So now we are going to have the closing. And are you ready? Okay, so to close this event, I would like to call upon Dr. Aliza binti Adnan the head of the Department of Corporate Networking and Communication. They are in charge of this IKIADS program, and she represents the Deputy Director of the Institute of Teacher Education Malaysia Ilmu Khas campus, and we call upon her to deliver her closing remarks and officially close the webinar.
Academic Discourse series, our third in the series. I would like to take a moment to reflect on the rich and the meaningful discussion we have been privileged to share under the theme, the Doctoral Odyssey, Navigating the Start and Sustaining the Journey. We reflect on the day filled with honest, practical, and deeply human insight into the reality of the PhD journey. This Odyssey is not just an academic pursuit, but a personal path marked by discipline, resilience, and reflection. Each presentation today reminded us that we are not alone in facing the complexity of scholarship. The three speakers offered powerful and relatable insights into the PhD journey. Ms. Malini emphasized that true academic growth requires structure, self-discipline, and consistent effort, reminding us there are no shortcuts to excellence. Alamare shared a heartfelt account of putting a PhD on hold, highlighting that pauses in our journey do not mean failure, but can still be filled with purpose and hope. Paravindaran Balakrishnan challenged common myths about the PhD, motivations, and see the doctorate as a meaningful tool for life, not just a symbol of achievement. To all participants, thank you for engaging with open hearts and minds. The IKIADS is more than just an academic platform. It is a space for connection, solidarity, and growth. May this event mark not an ending but a beginning of continued support, reflection, and meaningful academic collaboration. With that, I officially close IKIADS 3 2025. Thank you, and may your journey ahead be guided by insight, integrity, and passion.
So that was Dr. Aliza. She is our acting deputy director. So thank you, Dr. Aliza. And thank you once again, Al, Malini, and Pravin. Just a reminder, don't forget to fill the SPL KPM for attendance and also the Google form for your e-certificate, right? Okay, now as we end this webinar, let us listen to the IPGM song. Hopefully, this time we can listen to the song and not face any technical glitches. Over to you, Nick. and gentlemen, let me profusely apologize for all these technical glitches. I guess this is part of the technology with its glitches and all. But however, we have now come to the end of yet another IKIADS event for this year, 2025. And we at Ilmu Khas campus are truly honored and privileged to have had these three presenters, distinguished presenters, Al Lamare, Malini, and Pravin, to share with us their thoughts on the doctoral Odyssey. And to all those who are following this event from near and far, thank you for your support and participation. Have a great day, stay safe, and keep well. Thank you. Bye for now.